Hello everybody and welcome to my WIP parade. It's a little late, but better late than never. So let's go! My first piece, I'm gonna do these in no particular order. So whatever order they come out of the bag. I wasn't actually planning to do this today, but it's snowing, so I can't really do anything outside. So I figured I'll do a WIP parade. I've been putting it off, and now is the perfect day. So here is the first one. This is from Maria Bravco on Etsy, Cute Patterns by Maria. It's Witch and Frog. And it is about 60% done. I was just working on this yesterday and I finished this fern with all the outlining and the bottom of her dress. And yeah, so most of this is backstitched. This isn't, because I'm missing a color in there, but you can still quite obviously see the mushroom caps in there. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, this is Witch and Frog from Maria Bravco, and it is stitched on 28 count Lugana. I didn't put the color in there. It's like a beige. It's like a tan, and I'm sure it's from Swigart because most of my Luganas are. But there's that one. Next up, we have one that you guys haven't seen before. I started this one just before Christmas. I know because now that I'm looking at it, I remember I was watching Christmas movies. Like YouTube had so many like Hallmark Christmas movies this year, and I started watching them and I got hooked. And that is definitely what I was watching when I was stitching this one. It probably is why I even bought it, but it's called Yes I Can Bake from a company called Little Room in the Attic. Here's what it will look like when it's finished. So I've got the mix master there, mostly outlined. I'm missing a couple of colors for this top row. That's why it's not completely done. And then I've started working on her. And there is a lot of back stitching. I think this designer in general just has a lot of back stitching, but it really, like that mix master, you could tell it looks so cool. There's like one to four strands of black in each of these lines, and it really adds so much to it. There's another one by this designer, Little Red Riding Hood, and it looks really cool. I think when I finish this one, I'm gonna do Little Red Riding Hood by Little Room in the Attic. Oh, and this is, I didn't write it down, but this is Joblin, and I think it's, what is it? Bittersweet Light Joblin. And it's really nice to stitch on. I like that Joblin has like a little bit of stretch to it. And that one, it did call for Kreinik, but I had this DMC Light Effects gold, so I decided to use it instead. And I regret my choices, but I'm too far in to change now. And then I might just throw that out so that I'm not tempted to use it again. I think it's because DMC Light Effects is two strands of that metallic and they're woven like against each other. So when they start to separate, it's just a nightmare. And one of them like won't go through the hole. DMC Light Effects is no fun. Next up, I haven't worked on this one since my last WIP parade. It is Mermaid Kiss from Letty Stitch. This is what it will look like when it's done. It's mostly just full stitches, but there is some back stitch in here and on the boat. Oh, I just had a moment. I was like, did I do this sideways? But no, it is on there. It is on here correctly, which is good news. This one is on pre-gridded Aida that came with the kit. And I do like the pre-gridded. I'm not sure I would buy it of my own volition, but it was nice in the kit. And here is as far as I am on this one. So I've got the lighthouse started. You can see a couple of seagulls. And then this is the sun right in here. And as we go down here, it'll be her tail, and then all the other stuff is happening over there. But I haven't worked on this in a long time. I'm sure in the summer, that seems to be when I get mermaid fever. So there's that one. And I figure that this one is at about, I can't find it. Oh, 10.23%. Yeah, that's right, because I put this one in Pattern Keeper. Next up is Riverbank Train Station from Dimensions. Here's what it will look like when it's done. And here's where it's at now. This one I'm not doing on the kit Aida. I'm doing this on some raw natural linen that I was the perfect size, but I started it sideways, so now it's way too tall, but also way too narrow. But we've made it this far, so we're just gonna keep going. That's where this one is at. So all I have left is the train, which runs along here, and then to finish this porch section, as well as these trees, which I've talked about before. There is a billion French knots, and instead of doing the French knots, I have picked out some beads from my own collection that I'm going to use instead. And I'll show you real quick. They are Mikey Delicate beads, and those are the colors that I have picked out. And I'm going to do those instead of the French knots. And I'm going to put those on with some invisible thread. Riverbank Train Station. And that one I figure is at about 60%. It's probably a little further along than that actually, because that train is not very big. Next up is A Treasured Time from Dimensions. I did work on this a little bit around Christmas time, but not very much. Actually, maybe I haven't worked on this since the last time I showed it. I probably haven't. But that's okay. That just means more to do next year, which is great. This is what it will look like when it's done. And here's what it looks like now. So a lot of the middle is done there. That's not a very big start. This cabin here, in the grand scheme of the whole project, is very, very small. I would say it's like 2% of the entire project. So I don't have that much of a start on this, but it is in Pattern Keeper. And Pattern Keeper tells me that I am at 7.92%. So that one, that is A Treasured Time. There's a little bit of back stitching in this one too that I have not been doing as I've been going, but I probably will as I get more done. Next up is called Silver Moon Tea from Mirabilia. Here's what it will look like when it's done. I'm doing this one for my daughter. There's what it will look like when it's done. And this one is on I have my list here in front of me, so that's what I keep looking at. Silver Moon Tea. Oh, 16.19%. And I think this one isn't, I put it in Pattern Keeper too, so. Here's where it is at. I started working up in these diagonals, and there's a lot of gaps you can see for all the beads that need to go into the moon there. I did start the beading up here, and then I realized I shouldn't do that since I like working in a Q-snap. So I've just been snapping around the beads for now. But that's where it's at. I'm gonna pull this one out. I haven't worked on it in a while because it's been like in the bottom of my WIP pile. But I like the silvery kind of winter colors in this one. And that is what is this one? Lavender Lugana, 28 count Lavender Lugana. So that is Silver Moon Tea from Mirabilia. Next up, I was supposed to finish this. I said how many times I was going to finish this, and I didn't. It is Village Inn from Mill Hill. There it is. And this one has a little snowman button. This is why they call them buttons and beads, because they come with a bead. Or a button, sorry. And that's the little ceramic button that will go on this when I'm done. Which I was supposed to be done because I have maybe 2 hours of beading left on this, and then it's done. But I didn't finish it. And now Christmas is over, so maybe I'll do this for Christmas in July. That's when I'll finish this, but that's as far as I am. I'm really almost nearly done. There's just a little bit of beading left, and then it will be done. And for anyone who's curious, I did this on 16 count antique white Ada from Charles Craft. But if I had to do it again, I would do it on a darker color so that the snow is more prevalent. The perforated paper that it comes with is gold, and that might be a good color to do it on, like light brown or something. Village Inn. Next, I could tell this is, oh yeah, this is a Bella Filipina. This is Esmeralda from Bella Filipina. And I am doing this on 32 count Mercedes Lugana. And I did work on this one recently. I remember working on this as I was watching Christmas movies. So I have made some progress since the last time you guys saw it. There we go. I worked along the top of her tail here. So all that's left is the rest of her tail in here. And then this seashell continues out. And then all of the beading, of which there's quite a bit. You can see that this one too, I started the beading and then I realized, well, then I started using a smaller Q-snap and I had to quit beading because it got in the way of the Q-snap. But she's going to be really pretty when she's done. And this is a lot of fun to work on. In this area in here, there's a lot of half and quarter stitches, and on this 32 count Lugana, it was really tight. Sometimes it was really hard to get the needle through, but now that that part's done, I don't mind it so much. We'll see what happens when I get to beading. I know in this section here, I did have to leave some beads out because they wouldn't all fit as they were called for in the chart. There just wasn't enough room, but it still looks good. So that is Esmeralda from Bella Filipina. And this one, I don't have it in Pattern Keeper, but I think my guesstimate is that it is at 60%. Oh, next up is my chatelaine, which I worked on a lot. Everything showed up in the mail that I was waiting for to keep working on this project. So I did, and I got quite a bit done. I have to take it off the Q-snap here. This is what it will look like when it's done. And this one I am doing on .32 count Belfast linen in white from Zweigart. I wish I had ironed this, but that's okay. So here it is, the chatelaine. All the stitching is done up here. Actually, that's not true. There's a couple stitches missing over here, like 8 or 9 stitches. And then I started working on the fairy herself in here. And I think the reason I ended up putting it down is because there's a couple more snowflakes over here, and I was struggling to find ways to anchor them. And I got a little frustrated, and instead of continuing to work on it, I bought that little room in the attic pattern. Yes, I Can Bake is what it's called. But this is so much fun to work on. I don't know if you can see all the different specialty stitches up here, but they're so much fun to do, and they add so much. I am just loving this. And chatelaines are actually, it's daunting to get started, but once you do, the instructions are super clear. There's like 2 places to reference everything that you need to know, and there's a lot of help online if you need more help. But yeah, and in her hair there's a couple of whisper threads, which is this really I'll show you for anyone who doesn't know. It's like what you can imagine that Santa's sleeves are made out of. It's like a furry kind of fabric, and it's not fun to work with, but it adds so much to the project. It's like super wispy. Yeah, and it looks super cool. That's what the other that's why I stopped. Some of the other snowflakes up in that section are using the whisper thread, and it was just really getting on my nerves. And I had something else fun that I had been planning to start, so I did that instead. But yes, this and the Silver Moon Tea are definitely going to the top of the pile because they're a lot of fun to work on. Oh, I'm missing a Jessica stitch right there too. But then right in here, there's a Swarovski bicone, not a bicone, a teardrop that goes in there when it's done. And yeah, this is going to be gorgeous. But on to the next. This one, I don't have it in Pattern Keeper. I have it just it's a PDF, and I just open it as a PDF, and I use the draw function in Adobe to cross stuff off as I go. Oh, what did I think this one was at? 5%. It's probably a little bit further along than 5%. That's probably 15% maybe. I got Q-snaps all over now. Okay, next up is, oh, these are my finishes. These are my 20, you know what? We'll just do those. My 2023 finishes. This one it was in a magazine in January, I think. from a designer Stitch Sprout. I don't remember what it was called, but I'll find it and I'll put it on the screen. I loved stitching that little bird. It's so cute. And the berries with the frosty icicles on them. The pattern itself is a little bit oblong, like the tail sticks out really far, so when I'm kind of struggling, I guess I could just frame it. That's how I could finish it. But it's cute. It's just a nice little stitch. So that one was from Stitch Sprout. My next finish is, oh, this was I was going to do the Brooks Books animals Christmas ornaments. I was gonna do one for everybody, and I only got one done. But I left a lot of the border out, and then I was going to make them into some kind of ornament, and I was going to put everybody's name on them. Maybe I'll do one a year, and then I'll put the year on there so everybody can know what year I did theirs, so they can, you know, rank themselves in order of importance to me if they want. So there's that one. My next finish, and these are in no particular order. This is definitely not the order that I finished them in. This one is from the Witchy Stitcher. This is the first project that I ever did on, this is when I discovered linen. I didn't even know about even weave. I thought every cross stitch was done on Aida. So I did this one, and all of this stuff up here is so off. I was learning how to count stitches, learning how to count threads, and I made a lot of mistakes, but you can't tell. All of this stuff is mostly spot on. This is called Haunted Carousel. And yeah, you can tell I gave myself no margins. I was like, linen is so expensive. I need to be stingy with it. And now, like, as you can see from the margins that I left with this one, I think it has a lot more value to me now. I'd rather have my margins. But yeah, that's Haunted Carousel from the Witchy Stitcher, which doesn't have much back stitching. And I know a lot of people enjoy that. Next, I have, this one was in the World of Cross Stitching, I believe. It is a Stitcherovia piece and is called Be So Awesome, People Think You're a Myth. And I finished this one in March with the intention of giving it to my stepdaughter in April, and I bought the frame and I never framed it. But you know what? April's coming up again soon. This can be her birthday present this year. Be so awesome, people think you're a myth. This is where that DMC light effects that I was talking about earlier came in. And it didn't seem so bad when I was doing it on this one. Or maybe I just forgot how much DMC light effects is tricky to work with. But there's, I think, 5 or 6 different DMC light effects in here, but there isn't a lot of them. Like, there's just a little bit sprinkled in here, a couple little stars, and the rest of it is just, oh, there's a toile in here too. There's the DMC toile, which is regular floss with the blending filament in the floss, which was a little tricky to work with, but not near as bad as DMC light effects. So that is another finish. I had a lot of starts last year, not a lot of finishes. So this is, I think I only have 1 or 2 left here. Oh yeah. Yep, there's this guy, which is called Have a Cozy Holiday, from 3 Tiny Owls, I think is the designer. Have a Cozy Holiday. Have a Cozy Holiday. This one has a lot of 1/4, 3/4, half stitches in it. It doesn't seem like it, but it does. But it's cute, and I think it really adds to it. My favorite part of this is the border, for sure. The nets on the border there, or acorns, I assume, they were this green. That's the color that they were, and I was like, I don't like that. I have never seen a green net on a tree, but maybe I just haven't been looking closely enough. So I put some orange on top of it to make it more like brown, like an acorn. So that is Have a Cozy Holiday from 3 Tiny Owls. And then the last piece I'll show you, and I get quite a few people asking about this one in the comments. This one I absolutely love. This is maybe the favorite piece that I've ever stitched. I started it and I couldn't wait to finish it. I loved it so much. It's from Susan Bates, and it was in Just Cross Stitch magazine, I think, in March or April. I'll write it on the screen right now. I think I don't know. I don't remember what it was called. I know that it was, like the description was a Scandinavian-inspired summer sampler. And I just absolutely love it. I did it on Summer Sky Joblin. Joblin is, or at least this one, is super soft. Like, this is the fabric itself. Like, if you held it up like this, it's just like a wet napkin. It's super soft and it's a little bit stretchy, which is great for stretching, obviously, which is what I did with it. But I love this piece. I think this rabbit down here, this tree, this was so much fun. I'll make sure that I write in where it came from, because this is an amazing piece. And actually, I ended up going and buying one of Susan Bates' books, and I don't know, I can find it. I will find it. So after I stitched that, I wanted to find more Susan Bates stuff. So I went on Amazon and I got this book, which I haven't stitched anything from yet, but I definitely plan to. There's so many great spring things in here. Oh, this summer, we're just gonna do show and tell now. This summer, when I went to visit my parents up in Canada, there was, at a secondhand store, I found a bunch of old cross-stitch magazines. And in the front of one of them were these, they're not actually patterns. They were in magazines. They kind of look like patterns, but this is more like an advertisement to sell the pattern itself or the kit. And so you would see this in the magazine and then you would order it and get the actual kit. And I think these are from like the somewhere between the 20s and the 40s, just based on like the advertisements in the back. There's like little knitting. Again, they're selling these knitting patterns for 20 cents. This purse pattern is 50 cents. So they're quite old, but obviously the person, whoever had these, saved them, and they just did the stitching right off of the advertisement, which I think is so cool. Anyways, enough about that. Susan Bates, the motif book. There are so many patterns in here that I want to do this year. I'll see if I can show a couple without showing the chart. I think, oh, there's one. Susan Bates just has a really cool way of designing. This entire strip here, there's no stitching, so it's just the background showing through. And again, up here, and it's just, I don't know which one I'm going to do yet, but I'm definitely going to do some of hers. I love gardening, so these are right up my alley. But yeah, okay, enough about Susan Bates. Back to the WIP Parade. This one, oh, I have definitely worked on this one since the last time you guys saw it. This is Earth Goddess from Joan Elliott. And I did a bunch of the back stitching on this, the Kreinik back stitching, and this is on 25 count Vintage Country Mocha Lugana, and my best guess is that it's at about 70%. And here's where it's at. I did all of this. I was watching Big Brother Reindeer Games when I did that. Isn't it fun? At least I can always remember what I was watching. As soon as I pull something out, I'm reminded of what I was watching. But I just have this little bit left of that green Kreinik border, and I did a little bit over here, and then there's some stitching that needs to be done here, some stitching that needs to be done here, and then she is done. And yeah, this is gonna be a nice big wall piece for sure. I don't know if you guys can see, they kind of blend in, but these little hummingbirds, there's one in her hair and one next to her face. They're a lot of fun. But yes, that is Joan Elliott's Earth Goddess. Oh, I guess I could go in order. Here's what it will look like when it's done. Here's what it will look like when it's done. Next is, what did I figure I had that one at? I have that one listed at 70, but it's probably closer to 80. This is a Soda Stitch. What is it? It's My Gardening from Soda Stitch. Here's what it will look like when it's done. And here's what it looks like now. And here's what it looks like now. I have not worked on this since my last WIP parade, but that's where it's at. I think this one is on 28 count Springfield Sage Lugana, and it is at 17%. I love these little pumpkins here. They're not even outlined. They're not even backstitched yet, and you can really tell like what they are. As well as this, there's like a market bag hanging there with leeks hanging out of it, and I love leeks. They're my favorite vegetable. They're the one that I'm really gonna try my best to grow really well this year. Last year they ended up looking like green onions, which I want big leeks. Big leeks like there is in this cross stitch. I think I'm gonna pull this one out too. So that's 3 that I need to set aside now. This one, the chatelaine, and Earl Grey. I'm gonna set them aside right now so I don't forget. Okay, next up is Map of Hawk Run Hollow. Here's what it will look like when it's done. And I'm doing this one on, I just have raw natural linen. That's what I wrote down, raw natural linen. Oh, this is 40 count. Yes, this is 40 count. And I'm doing this in the called for NPI silks. And that's where I'm at. This is 1/2 on 40 count linen in NPI silks. And I just have a very small start on it. There's much more interesting places to work on, but I like to start in the places that I find the most boring, so that as I get towards the end of the project, it's just the most interesting stuff to me to stitch on. So that's where I'm at. I haven't pulled this one out because the 40 count is more difficult to work on. It looks very, like, even being 1/2, the coverage is great, and it looks very fancy, petite, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. Dainty, I don't know. It looks good, but I struggle with it, so that's why that one doesn't get worked on as much as it should. This one is I need to work on this one too. This is the Lola Crow Stitch Along, the one from 2023. Greenhouse of Oddities, that's what it's called. Here's what it will look like when it's done. And here's what it looks like now. I didn't get that far. I did the whole framework for it, and then I started on the first planting. I was missing a color, and then I set it aside and I didn't do any of the next plantings. But I am going to. Like, I love gardening. This is right up my alley. This is a piece I am going to finish. It looks cool. I wish I had a greenhouse that looked like this. That would be amazing. Like, just sitting in my yard. I think it would freak the neighbors out. But yeah, this just gothic style. That'd be amazing. That one is at, well, I have 1 of 12 plantings done, basically, so less than 10%. This one, I found it in my car. This was a car stitch. I haven't showed you guys this one before. It's a Mill Hill kit, buttons and beads, called Fairy Garden. And I was working on this in my car, and I forgot about it. So I haven't shown it before. This one I'm doing on I don't have it written down. It's doubloon. It's a linen. I think the colorway is called doubloon. Doubloon, maybe? Anyways, that's where it's at. This is a nice spring piece too. I'm gonna set this one aside to work on it. I'm willing spring to come. That's where it's at. So I definitely prefer doing the Mill Hill kits on linen or Aida compared to the perforated paper. I struggle with perforated paper. My thread gets caught on the edges, and I don't like having to hold it in my hand. I don't like not being able to put it on a Q-snap. So that's why I prefer doing those on the linen or Aida. This one is the Bella Filipina Mermaid of the Season Sal. This is the fall one. And here's where it's at. I haven't stitched on this anymore since the last time you guys saw it. It's just, I don't know, I started doing winter pieces and I fell away from this one. And actually the winter one came out on December 15th. So, and I haven't started it yet. But I do have the fabric set aside for it. Did I put it in there? No, I didn't. It's a blue, it's a mottled blue and white. So there's that one. Next up is a project I've been working on for my boyfriend. It's from a video game. It's some characters from a really old video game, actually, called Chrono Trigger. And I have not worked on this one very much, but I need to. It's supposed to be a Christmas present. What is wrong with me? I have 3 more characters to add on, and then I need to finish this one right here. I need to work on that. If I get it done by July, it could be a birthday present. So maybe I'll focus on that. Finished by July. Next is, this is a really popular piece that I get a lot of comments about. It is called Seafarer's Glow by Maria Diaz. And here's what it will look like when it's done. And here's what it looks like now, if I can get it on here in a timely manner. Okay, there we go. there is where it's at. I want to work on this one too. I put it aside like in November because I was getting into the Christmas stuff, and now I want it to be springtime. Yeah, I'm gonna set this one aside. Oh my goodness. So many projects to work on. This one is a lot of fun. This one I'm using a mystery gold. It's probably Krynic. It's probably old Krynic. Where is it? I saw it the other day and I thought to myself, I should put it in this bag. But I didn't because it's not in the bag, so who knows? Maybe that'll end up being the light effects. Probably not. Maybe. This is from Hirschner's. Well, this is a Mirabilia that I got a digital PDF from Hirschner's. And it is, what is it called? Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat? She is holding a banner right here that says Trick or Treat. This one is on 32 count dark purple Lugana. That's what I wrote down. I don't think that's actually the name. What is it? Orchid. 32 count Orchid Lugana. And I haven't gotten very far. When I put it into Pattern Keeper, it had to go in sideways. So even now as I look at it, the stitches, because I'm stitching it this way to work it with Pattern Keeper, the stitches go the wrong way. My eye is catching on them and wondering, what is up with those stitches? Yeah, this is, I don't have a lot of Halloween going on right now. I have that finish that I showed you guys earlier, but that's about it. Yeah, so I'll definitely be bringing this one out probably in September. That tends to be when I get my Halloween bug going. Next up, this one you guys haven't seen either. My mom sent this to me. I started this 18 years ago, almost 19 years ago. I started it for my daughter, who will turn 19 in March. And it is from Jiffy, which is a Dimensions subsidiary. And it's called A Gift of Love. And it's a birth sampler that I stitched, and I started back stitching. You can see I backstitched the head and I backstitched a little bit right there, and then I was like, no, I'm done with this. Until I saw it in the mail that my mom sent to me, I had completely forgot about it. So I'm going to finish this for her 19 years later. It's really just backstitching, and there's not that much of it, so there's no excuse for me to not get that done. Next up is Dreaming Girl from Barbara Anna Designs. This is on, I just wrote Lugana. That's not very helpful. This is on Azure Blue Lugana. And hopefully I get this one done next year, because honestly I don't really enjoy working on it, but I really like the piece, so I want to get it finished. I can't really put my finger on what it is, but every time I pull it out to work on it, I'm just not feeling it. But that's where it's at, and it looks gorgeous. I don't know what my problem is. I'm definitely the problem. The piece isn't the problem. I am the problem, just to be clear. And that's where she's at. And this one, yeah, it is in Pattern Keeper, and it is at 40%. So It's not a big piece. It wouldn't take me long to finish it. Maybe I'll make this like a thread a day. Like before I do anything else, just put a thread in that one because I'd like to frame it. This is from Marechka and it's called The Old City. That's what it will look like when it's finished. And I have a small start on it. This one I did put in Pattern Keeper, so I know that it is at 11.1%. And get it on the board here. It's very wrinkly because I washed the Ada. It was super stiff, so I washed it, and now it's nice and soft, but it's very wrinkly. It needs to be ironed. Well, it doesn't need to be ironed. It'd look better if it was ironed. I'm not going to iron it until I'm done probably, but that's where it's at. Not a big start. This one is fun to work on though. I do enjoy this one. But this isn't one of the ones that I'm dying to get back to. Looks like I've got 3 or 4 left. So let's see. Next up is Mouse in Love, which is a kit that I started in May of this year. I am doing it on the Ada that it came with, and it is quite nearly done. I think the last time I stopped, I said to myself, why don't you just finish this? And then I continued to put it away because I didn't want to. That's where we're at. It's almost entirely done. There's just a little bit of shading here and his tail, the mouse's tail right there. And then this piece will be done. And this is for my youngest daughter. She really likes this piece, so I'm going to frame it for her wall. This was a fun piece to work on. Oh, this would be a great Valentine finish too because he's holding his little plaid heart there. But yes, that one is almost done. And next up, it looks like a Mirabilia because I can see the pattern sticking out there. Oh, this is the leaf collector, which I haven't worked on. Probably because I'm almost done. I have this thing where I get nearly done on a project and then I don't want to work on it anymore. That's what it will look like when it's done. And here's what it looks like now. Oh yeah, she is almost done. There's obviously a lot of beading to do, but the vast majority of her is done. That's where she is at. I haven't done anything on her since the last time you guys saw her. She still needs all of her leaves, a little bit right here, and then the beading, and then she is done. She is beautiful. She has fall vibes. That's probably why I kind of got into winter mode and now I'm into spring mode. I went very quickly. Fall, winter, now spring. Bring me spring, even though it's still several months away. And then I have one left. That's it, just one. I feel like I had more than that. Oh, my stack fell over. Oh well. That's why I zipped all the bags up. Last one. This is from Madame Chantilly, and it is called Winter Delivery. Here's what it will look like when it's done. And here's what it looks like now. I did do some more on this one. I've got a lot of, I think the next area that I was going to work on was the stack of sheep right over there. And then she's over here, and this is going to be really pretty. It has the same kind of style as the Barbara Anna Dreaming Girl, but for some reason I enjoy working on this one more. Maybe it's the colors, Maybe it's the fabric, I don't know, but this one I'm enjoying more. And this one is in, I put 10%, but I think it's more than 10%. No, it's not in Pattern Keeper. Or is it? I'm not sure. I don't know. And that is all of my WIPs. I didn't show all my finishes. The only other finishes that I have, oh, I do have one more finish. Let me go grab my other finish. The last of my finishes from 2023. I've shown these, or at least this one before, but this is a Mill Hill button and bead kit called Summer House or Spring House, I think. But there's that. This one is from Satsuma Street. It's called Emerald City. And this one I did before I had actual linen. I wanted to work on an even weave, and I didn't have any linen, and I didn't have anywhere locally that I could get linen. So I went to Michael's and I got what they call even weave. I don't know if you can tell by looking at this mess that I have going on back here how stiff this is. It's very stiff, and it's actually not even, because this is a perfect circle. This hoop is a circle. This design was a perfect circle, like the up and down and the side to side match. But the design is top, like once it got stitched, it's taller than it is wide. So this is not an actual even weave. But I got it from Michael's. It was listed as a 28 count even weave. It is very difficult to stitch. The holes were very tight, and I had a hard time pulling the floss through, but